So, in the essence of making a record, there was a shift in the time continuum where it spoke. So, I've been working on documentaries, filming a docu-series, writing physical books, but I needed something to be done in hopes of inspiring the minds of young Black creatives and their families. My target audience is young Black creatives who don't like to read. They have the skill set, they have the inclination, they have the know how, but they don't have the will because reading is presented to them like a chore. It's not
Mm.
presented to them like anything of enjoyment, anything that's even necessary. You know what I'm saying? And I think we set a precedence with that with when we're putting things together. If you see a thing to construct, it comes with a set of instructions. It comes with a set of instructions, and those instructions are there and written by the designer to give us a process of reformation. But we go right past those and we gonna start looking at the box or we go look on YouTube, whatever it needs, right? Some kind of way we begin to take instructions some sort of way. So our children are inundated in the public school system with instructions, but they aren't palatable or made in a way to bring continuity. So they're
Mm.
subjected. You see what I'm saying? So read this, do this, read this, do this, but they don't show you the fluidity of how they coincide. So you go from one class to the next class. So you're already putting class based off of intelligence or whatever sort of demands that are placed there. And then this is your work day. 8 to 10 hours out of the day, you're inundated with a uniform, a cubicle, whatever it is. So it prepares you for the assembly line or the prison system.
Mm.
So reading does not become a skill that you fall in love with in that sector. So it's aimed at short burst of motivation and inspiration to people that have the knack and the inclination, but just need some particular steps to be motivated and inspired.
You talk about motivation and inspiration, and I think that those words typify and personify exactly why this work is so electrifying and so needed and necessary. Because it's quite ironic. We are in a time now in which we're reading text, we're reading memes, we're reading Excel spreadsheets. We may be reading more than we've ever read, but are we reading to understand? And what are we getting? Wisdom and contextualizing and crystallizing the times in which have come and those that are here and that which is coming, so we can better understand not only our identity and our relationship with the world, but to be able to manifest that inspiration and motivation you so eloquently elucidated just a few moments ago. And I think where we're going with this is we are now inundated with so much information, misinformation, and disinformation that we need to have curation to correct and rectify so we don't get confused, bamboozled, and led astray from the hoodwinks and the derelicts that would deceive us. And that's why this work is so important, because it talks about, even in the introduction, upliftment, upliftment, and not just some vague or specious or empty rhetoric, but in a way in which gives us not only the motivation and the high elation and elevation of enthusiasm, but it gives us the cachets, if you will, and the nuggets necessary to be able to use as evidence to prove what we're saying is true. And I say that to ask this, dear brother, why did you create this creation that has a way in which to expound upon our past in a way that is not dreary and remorse or negative, but in a way that is uplifting and engaging, and at the same time able to use that to contextualize where we need to move today and they're moving forward.
Excellent question. Brother said we like witnessing lynchings.
Mm.
We like witnessing lynchings. It's particularly as black people. And we'll joke at it, we'll laugh at it. They'll sell tickets, they'll sell concessions,
Mm.
they'll raffle off souvenirs. And we'll laugh at our demise. We'll laugh at our demise. We forgot who we are. You could watch a 58-year-old black man,
Mm.
an archangel, an
Woo.
avenging angel
Woo.
named Michael, and not see Jesus.
Mm.
You could not see Jesus walking to Calvary, but you could watch it. You could laugh at it. You can make memes. You can make all of these jokes. You don't see yourself.
Mm.
You don't see yourself. So I have a bitter righteous rage of how we're being presented before the world. He walked to the ring alone. He faced his adversary. His adversary had all his fans and supporters around him. He didn't walk to the ring. He drove.
You did.
So the pageantry that's associated with this, the last time I saw something like that, it was the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder thing. They carried him to the ring. He had the crown on his head already. He was already victorious before anything happened. So the brothers walking through the annals of Black history, it was during February, and I seen all of the figures on the wall. I said, there's no way that they would adorn him in this way for him to make this ring walk by himself and have him be victorious. So what's the difference between the Bronx Bomber, the Bronze Bomber, and the Brownsville? So we'll see it, right? We'll see the humiliation ritual. We'll see the public humiliation just the same way we saw our king on the cross.
Mm.
We'll show up to the cross and mock him at the cross.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
this thing about the Michaels, there's a thing with Michael Jackson, there was a thing with Michael Jordan, there's a thing with Michael Tyson. No matter what they gave, you don't see God in the midst of the presence of what you have because you're looking for something grandiose. So you miss the God that's right in front of you.
Mm.
They saw Jesus raise the dead. They told my man, get up and walk on the water and all those things. They still asked him, hey, fam, when are we going to see the Father? How long have I been with you? You understand? So these are the same people that denied him before the morning 3 times and went and told the Romans where he was
Mm.
and got close enough with him to kiss him. So we love lynchings. We love lynchings in a way where it's funny to us. They would hang our people and sell tickets. This is where the picnics come from.
Mm.
They would pick one of us to hang and sell the tickets. The pickle in the jar, as I'm told, comes from the castration, and people were fighting over who was going to take home the reproductive organ. So this was a Taurus full moon, and they showed the bull in the matador. They saw the bull charging at the matador, and this was a joke to us.
Mm.
So it was a very important work to chronicleize so we can go back through the annals of history and look forward, have that Sankofa moment to be able to actualize what exactly happened, who we are, and how we are looking moving forward.
Wow. That was well said. Very, very, very remarkably put. So much to unpack in terms of we have our legends. We have our heroes, you know, our special people, if you will. And it seems as if almost like clockwork, before they transition, or even sometimes as they transition, or because of the transition that they make, they have to be humiliated. They have to be denigrated and degraded. And many of us are going to say, well, he made 20 million, he made this and he made that. But how much is a legacy worth?
What profit a man?
Right, right. You dig? What,
And use his own, lose his own
right,
very soul. It's written.
right. When did it become so easy to sell out? And I think that's why I love this work and I love your work, because it is the antithesis of the capitalistic brainwashing that many of our people are suffering from. In particular, is that I gotta make a dime. And we gotta turn that dime into 15 cents and that 15 cents into a dollar come hell or high water. Even if I have to sell my soul. And we don't realize what good is that money? What good are those diamonds and that gold if you have no peace? If you have no peace of mind and you have no happiness. I was listening to a reporter, and I won't mention his name, but he reports on the NBA. And he said, I've been doing this for 30 years. And the most stark thing that he said, to make a short story shorter, was he said, I see these mega millionaires and even billionaires. And the thing that's most striking to me is that they are so wealthy, but yet so unhappy. They are so miserable. And you would imagine that they would be the happiest people on the planet. They have girls and money and fame and luxury and accommodations everywhere they go, but yet no peace, no serenity, no tranquility. Because what they do not teach in this society, because people would see through it, is that these things are empty. These things are derelict of what makes a man, and that is integrity, the integral part of substance that many are missing. And I think that we just stay there for a second, because we all know, I think all of us know, even at 58, as old as he is and was, Mike Tyson would have destroyed that white boy. He taught him, he trained him. People don't remember when Jake Paul first got in the game, he was being trained by Mike Tyson and Bobby's body. So now he can't whoop him. Come on,
How
but
old is the youngest president?
and that.
Who was that guy that was just telling y'all to vote for not too long ago? How old is he? Was he old enough to be the president?
No.
Nobody questioned his age, right? Nobody questioned his age. The lady who was running against the man who's president elect, she's 54. Is she too old to be the president? Why would you play these games, right? You see what I'm saying? Why would you play these games? You age out of these games. This is Coliseum stuff. We just saw Denzel Washington admit that he kissed the man and he was happy about it. This was the biggest set he worked on. He was Steve Biko and Malcolm X. But he was awarded for playing a crooked cop before the war.
Yeah, and a
So
slave.
they show you your people, they show them in front of you and they take them from you. This is why the ability to tell our stories, to calculate our own stories, and to put them out is so vital. Why would we expect our enemies to do anything other than to paint us as criminals?
Very true. Very true. And I think that's why this work that you've worked on is so pivotal and important and transformative, because it informs us of not only the history, and I'm really talking particularly about Volume 1 and how the pioneers faced adversity. How many of us, and I'm going to be transparent, I over the course of the last couple of weeks, I've even seen grown men cry, and I'm not talking about shed a couple of tears. I'm talking about bawling about um, some of the dynamics that are set into place and may take place um, in January. And the thing that I was overcome with when I was hearing this was you must have forgotten who you are and whose you are and why you are. Because at no point in time have our people been so confused or weak to think that a president was going to liberate us. Now, I know many of us had drank the Kool-Aid when Obama got elected, and we thought that racism had ended. But those of us who had been on the front lines and had read enough books and done enough work, we knew that that was about as true as pigs flying. But I think the cumulative of our people, the collective, now realize that one man alone cannot change a system and a structure built on inequity, inequality, and unjust injustice. I think
Especially
now we're
one that selected them.
correct.
One,
Thank you. Thank you. So that's why these stories of Black entrepreneurs building a better future, these voices of the diaspora, is so critical because what it does is it gives us context to contextualize our lives and realize that this ain't nothing new. This is just the system being the system. And we have to understand that if we are to achieve what our ancestors have achieved, and hopefully even greater, we have to study the prototypes and the models and the modalities that they used and utilized, the good, the bad, and the ugly, to be able to make the proper analysis to do what needs to be done. Because I'm going to tell you this, I'm not denigrating brothers or sisters for crying. I understand. But that cannot be your only response. Your only response can't be, oh man, I'm gonna duck my head in the sand. I'm just trying to make as much money as I can in the next 4 years. That's not gonna work. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to get to work. And that's why this work is so imperative and important. I bring all of that up because I'm wondering, why did you want to highlight stories of Black entrepreneurs who made significant impacts? And you reach a multiplicity of industries and enterprises. And why was that such a critical focus? Because that was one of the things that I was reading. I was like, man, I thought the brother was going to start with some revolutionaries and this and that and the third. But it makes sense from my understanding why you do that. But I'd love for you to explain it and expound upon it so we can better understand.
knowledge is the foundation of all things in existence. What you know, you apply. What you apply, you understand. And what you understand, you live. And what you live, you empower. So the first 5 volumes is out of the 10-volume set of focus with that mantra. The giving permission for our young people to know themselves and whatever they inherited, whomever they inherited it from, they're supposed to know who they are. Like it's a natural inclination to want to see something coming to fruition from your mind, not something that's programmed in you. It's a natural thing, whether you got a lemonade stand, whether you got whatever it is. All of the nations in the world revert and resort to commerce, the commercial venue sort of situation. And with all that we provide the world as far as spending power is concerned, we don't regard the products and services that come from our minds. So we have to empower our young people to return to the marketplace. It's a competitive marketplace, and it shapes the dynamics of how the future is in regards to that. So if they aren't dealing with some sort of commercial enterprise, they will be left behind. So foundationally, that was the most important. That was the foundational space from your head to your feet. You see what I'm saying? How you're able to provide the basic essentials in life, food, clothing, shelter, is is tailored with your propensity to be able to create a gross domestic product that is in need. Entrepreneurs solve problems. So with something. And commercial venue also is an act of war. So that does start with the revolutionary, the ability to be able to take something from one place to another. If you have stores in your neighborhood and they're selling you food and they don't benefit the neighborhood, what are they there for? It's a money grab. So they have their children there working. So they send them to wherever they need to go to learn some English or whatever the case may be, but they're there for their future. We're financing their future. We're insulating their future. So we no longer go to our own first or at all. So this is a re-education or reintroduction into why we need to, as the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey said, accept our own and be ourselves. As the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, do for self. You can judge a tree by the fruit it bears. You can judge a nation by its flag. Mike Tyson was draped in that Palestinian flag. How could he come out of the ring not the victor?
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He was there with the same flag and the same flag colors as in Iraq or any of these other places that's open. So he's speaking. So when he was speaking about legacy, he said legacy wasn't important. He just wanted to be remembered by his family. Everybody else was insignificant because when he was going through his trials and his tribulations, everybody had abandoned him. So they'll rise you up in front of the world and then they'll assassinate you, like Dr. Martin Luther King. He was the Michael, like Al Haj Malik El Shabazz, brother Omar Wali. He was the Malik. They kill you in front of your family. Okay, they have no regard for your life. So we have to imbue our young people with another set of circumstances and stories so they can continue to speak life and breathe life into the entrepreneurial ventures that will cement their future and protect their legacies.
Man, that's wild. All day I've been seeing videos say Tyson could have knocked him out here, or Tyson had to hold back, or Tyson had to do this to keep the charade going. And I thought about that because so many of us, while we are disappointed in thinking that and seeing the outcome that we saw, I think about the realities that were at play. You had a 27-year-old white boy who made his claim to fame on the internet, fighting and playing games, in essence. And you have someone who dedicated their life, their blood, their sweat, their tears to a sport, to a blood sport, and said he was a warrior. He was born for this, right? But in this society, Black people in particular, it don't matter what we're born for. We're also born to serve the interests of white folks. And I thought about that as I was watching these clips. I said, man, what kind of deep psychosis would make someone think that they'll be accepted by people that will not even allow them to achieve their greatness without at first humbling and submitting to the power of whiteness. That is sick. And we have made that a part of our experience. We have made that. We accept it. So when his documentary comes out, or when his biopic comes out, you're going to see his last hurrah getting whooped by a white boy. They had no business being out there. Someone who stood up and talked about Minister Farrakhan and Allah, the things that you mentioned. Been a strong brother. Now he's had flaws, and we've all had flaws, and his were just more documented. But I think it's quite dementing and demeaning to see what we saw. Now I do want to say this: the brother was 58, and um, that is an accomplishment, nonetheless, to get out there. But I respect that, and I want to make sure that I'm clear on that. He's a warrior, and I don't think he lost respect. But I think that we have to take some time and analyze: is this the message that we want to send to our youth? I say to myself, if we spent as much time fighting Netflix to watch a fight as we spend fighting for our freedom and our liberation, we'd be in a whole different situation. Because I know, and I'm being real, I had to turn the TV off about 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. And there was people telling me they were jumping on the fire stick and they were doing this and they were doing that, trying to watch the fight. But I thought about that. I said, how committed are we to this fight? How committed are we to uh, getting the knowledge that we need to fight against oppression, repression, depression, and suppression? It's crickets there. And that's why I appreciate you, my friend, because I know how hard and challenging it has been. And it is still, and you still rise. And I want to ask you this: where in the world do you find the strength to do what you do so eloquently and articulately and intelligently and in the way in which is pleasing unto the ancestral and the elder community? I'm wondering, where do you get the moxie to do what you do, brother? Because it's not easy. It's a challenge. And to put together this great work that you've worked on, these voices that need to be heard, that need to have words to speak so that people can begin to listen and learn and think on a greater level. How in the world do you get the wherewithal to put all that together and still live in the confines of the concrete jungle?
That's the work I was born for. You have certain people. Mike Tyson told Muhammad Ali when he came to visit him that when he fought Larry Holmes, he was going to avenge him. Muhammad Ali came to him at the ringside and said, "Remember what you promised me." So you see a protege come against the teacher. Again, Mike was not only a prolific figure as far as boxing goes, but in the sport of pugilism as a whole. There's so many people who came to receive tutelage from him. He's a student of the sport. So it is no coincidence that this fight happens and then this Gladiator film comes out the same week.
Mm-hmm.
There's no coincidence that these things happen the way they do. So this Greco-Roman gladiator sport environment that they're termed and said give the people bread and circus and they never revolt. We have to understand the sort of mindset that we've adopted. So we're there, the first gladiator, are you not entertained? So the entertainment industry has our people in the chokehold. So the more attention that happens, the more intensity is pushed towards that particular space. So you have to combat something that people have been poisoned and tricked into loving and give them something palatable in that space. So Dr. Khaled Abdul Muhammad said, I give, you know, black people inspiration and information. So you have to put the balance in between the both. Bill Duke called it edutainment. So we had to be educated and entertained simultaneously. We have the creative and we have the analytical. So the ability to be able to craft these things, from my mind is you have visual representation, you have verbal stimulation, but you also have musical stimulation as well to paint a perfect picture of the holistic approach towards getting our people to look at themselves in a righteous manner. Because if any of those things are missing, it's there. So, to answer your question in short, my mother and my father came before me. Those are the gods that I know. That's the stock that I descend from. So, that motivation to continue, regardless of what the obstacle are and the oppositions are, and the trial and error that comes along with it is life. I have an ancestry tie to continue on the work that my parents did and their parents did. I talked to my uncle today. I talked to my aunt today. I talked to some of my family members today, and they could bear witness to who I was. Ever since I was young, I was always on this particular track, and nothing deterred me. So it's a continued journey on a path that has been laid before me. So that decision before God, the decision before my ancestors, the decision before my parents, the decision before my ancestors yet to come via my children, all of these are the strongest motivation to face any adversity that comes and continue on. Because again, if we're looking at legacy, they're going to inherit what's there. When my sons read these books, it was like, oh, my daddy writes books now. That's it. That's the greatest gift I could ever receive. If young black children read the things or they're doing the things that their families were doing that were righteous, that's it. They saw enough value in what I produced to want to do the same thing. They wanted to partake. They're like, oh, my daddy writes books now. That's the thing. So they're reading the books. So that's all of the onus in regards to how the thing, regardless of how arduous or demeaning at times or thankless the path is, the reward is greater. You heard me say before, the mission is more important than the moment, but the mission is crafted with meaningful moments along the pathway. So defining moments, meaningful moments, trying moments, all of those things along that path. But the reward is great. You see what I'm saying? Greater is he than he is who is in the world. So that renewal of the mind process, that transformation is something that we're striving for. So that's more motivation than anything that any wicked one could ever seek to come against.
Mm. Um, um, I want to ask this question, brother. Thank you for that. That was well said and truly meaningful. You have in chapter 2, after you talk about facing adversity and the action steps required, I thought were extremely potent and poignant in terms of researching historical figures and understanding the context of systemic barriers, and then analyzing the overcoming strategies. That's extremely important because many times we think that we need solutions. We need solutions. I hear Negro Peons say that all the time. We need solutions. We need solutions. We know the problem. No, nigga, you don't understand the problem. I'm sorry. Because you think that missing steps or skipping steps is a waste of time in terms of, no, I don't want to learn about that. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to understand that. Now, we're beyond that. No, we're not. We're never beyond our past. And what I mean by that is Sankofa is always real. We may honor it in a certain month, right? We may do a certain ritual in a certain time and season, but Sankofa should be every moment, every day. We're constantly reflecting back, remembering, reconnecting, so that we can begin to use that wisdom, that understanding, that context to contextualize our future and reinvent ourselves for the future to meet the future challenges and obstacles. And I say all that, brother, because when I was reading your book, I saw how boom, you went from that to action steps. You understood legacy. And I man, I'm telling you, all of these things correlate. People just don't see it. This brother, this profound brother talking about Iron Mike, saying he's not worried about his legacy. How is that possible? Because a man of his stature, a man of his mammoth experience, is well aware that each and everything he does is shaping his legacy. And my thing is, why would you say that to a young child in that way, in that tone? You may be confusing her. That may not be what she needs to hear, right? And her audience needs to hear. Because I think it's very scary that we are teaching our children not to understand the importance of their legacy. And the reason why I say what I say, my dear brother, is first of all, your book is so good, it's got me stimulated. I'm running my mouth. I should be listening to you because you're way smarter than me. But our legacy is not about just us. You just mentioned your mother and your father. And I guarantee if I talk to your mother and father, they wouldn't speak of themselves. They would speak of someone else that taught them, someone else that inspired them that may not be here in the physical form, but they informed them spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and they're still carrying it on through you. How in the world can we disconnect from the reality of our legacy? Is not about us. It's about those who came before us, who sacrificed to pour into us so that we can be who we need to be to pour into the next generation. So we can continue to proliferate into perpetuity. And I think that's what your book personifies and exemplifies so beautifully and remarkably. Um, and I go there to ask this question. When you refer to the action steps, when you talk about the pioneers and their achievements and their impact, and how it has left a legacy for all of us to partake in whatever shape, form, and fashion. I'm wondering, were you aware of the importance of building legacy? Were you were you cognizant of how important it is for us to remember that we are not here in and of ourselves and that we have a responsibility to the collective, whether we like it or not? And if so, what is that responsibility to ensure and enrich and elevate our legacy?
You have an aspect in entrepreneurialism, and I love the question. Is aside from what problem you're looking to solve, what's the barrier to entry? The barrier to entry. So, from your idea to go from the womb of your mind to the womb of the reality that you exist in, there's a process. There's a building, a birthing process. So, when I looked at legacy and these things from that perspective, these are criterion for the building of what we're looking to see in the future. So when we look at legacy, we're talking about yesterday, today, and tomorrow. The legacy of these early entrepreneurs is profound. They not only succeeded in business, but also contributed to the social and economic fabric of their community. So that's what a comprehensive option looks like. So the things that you're garnering and the resources that you're receiving, you are reinvesting them in your community. One of the things that happened uh, so awfully, what this brother said, is that we thought that someone outside of us would have our best interest at heart.
Mm.
We thought that these things, these entities, y'all call them people. I don't call them anything other than enemy. Enemy gets no water. Okay, that's what Fela Kuti said. So why would
Mm.
we water them with our words and our attention? Because we've grown to look for their acceptance. We can
Mm.
build things, we can create things, and then we sell them. We sell them to our enemies, for our enemies to rob and duplicate, reproduce, and sell it back to us at a higher price.
Mm.
They call that business. That's not thievery. That's not theft by deception. None of these terms that they utilize when they come, this legal jargon that they come to you with. So our legacy belongs to us. I'm not looking for anybody to come and do anything other than what they've been doing. They got their ski mask on and they pistol out.
Mm.
You understand what I'm saying? So you got a tax over here, you got this over there, you got to be in compliance with this or compliance with that, or you need this particular number, or this knowing your numbers, knowing all of those things, all these things matter in regards to what you're building. So the queen and the king of the marketplace, as the ones who put the marketplace into motion, how we getting duped out here? Because in the market, you are marked. Someone's marking something to you, and you become food for them.
Mm.
They're going to turn you into food. So when I talked about researching historical challenges, understand those barriers to entry so you don't become food. And then analyze overcoming strategies, because if they did it, you could do it too. You can look at their model, and based off of the legacy of their or the life of their work or what their offering was, you could decide for yourself whether you want to take that route or another route. They
Mm.
gave it to you. They gave it to you. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when Dr. Abraham Muhammad says that those who you may be discouraged by what is not happening in your life right now, be encouraged by what will be. So the power of that same mind you could use to say, "Oh, this ain't happening," or "That ain't happening." You could use that same mind to say, "These things are happening." The past tense, present tense, future tense, right? So that Bible says, "Think of these things uh, now as they were."
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? That power of manifestation. What you seeding in your mind, what you're seeding in your heart. Where's the evidence in your action? This is why these are action steps. What you do or don't do decides how your legacy is going to be.
That's facts.
You know what I'm saying? So, in regards to whatever adversity or the challenges, the adversarial energy that's there is a fortifying energy. That's a live energy. It's alive and well to test you because you said you wanted to do something, or you said you wanted to create something. I saw something earlier about a sister who made the automatic double dutch because she didn't have siblings, and when she wanted to come home, she wanted to jump that rope. She was jumping that rope her whole life. 30 years later, it becomes something that's palatable. If she would have stopped at any juncture along the way, it wouldn't happen. That's the ingenuity that exists within your mind. That's the legacy that you come from. So my mother and my father, they did a work, and I come from them. So I'm doing the work. My children, they inherit what it is that their particular mission and path is, and they're doing the work. So my job is to guide them along the path for them to have the most optimal space and tools necessary for their legacy. They're part of mine. We have a collective legacy.
Mhm.
So this is what the future looks like in regards to what tomorrow is. And if we're dismayed by what happened yesterday or today, it gets in the way of our tomorrow. Tomorrow and yesterday both belong in our imagination, and the present is in our eyes. You can see it right in front of you. But when you
You're right.
go on your third eye, you can see yesterday and you can see tomorrow. What does your image or your imagination look like for what your future is going to be?
Mm.
So Mike understood that there are more days behind him than is in front of him. So he's preparing himself to leave the planet.
Mm.
So when he leaves the planet, they still gonna have the memes and all of this stuff that they had going on? Yes, because they did it with Michael Jackson, right?
Yeah.
They did it with Michael Jordan, old Mike versus new Mike, 23 ain't 45. They play the games with you until you're no longer in the space for them to be playing those games. So when it's time for the books to be closed on your life, that one date and that tick mark in between and the last, what is your life going to be? A result of your choices, the result of your time here on the planet? What did you do with the time that you were given? That's important. That determines how you're going to be remembered by those who love you and for those who hate you because they're fickle.
Mm. You have something in your book that I thought was very interesting. Talk about share a story, document and share your entrepreneurial journey to
Yes.
inspiring others. Um, why is that so important for people to be able to
Amazon
share
and
a story?
Starbucks started in somebody's house, brother said. In their garage. IBM, Apple, all these products, they started as a dream that somebody stole from their friends or whatever it was. You understand?
Yeah.
They have a
Yeah.
story. They don't share the story like that, but they'll show it and people will write it. Somebody came up with something and then somebody took it. So Amazon and Starbucks, for instance, gets their coffee beans from two places, Africa and Brazil, chiefly. So, how did this place in Seattle, Washington, use this image of this black woman as their logo and not give credit to what it is, from whence they got it from? So, whether it's the jungles of Brazil or the mother continent, they don't give honor to that mother. They just use that mother as a means to direct the traffic. Now, if you look at the spaces, what they allow their employees to do with stocks and all these things, it's a
Mhm.
great optimal working environment. But they chose people over profits
Mhm.
initially. So documenting the story and the legacy becomes so important because it's the life of your business. It's a living document that continues for you to add your improvement upon it. So if you're not documenting your story, if you're not building on the legacy that came before you, you are cheating those who are coming after you of the experience, uh, that wisdom that you gain through this blood, sweat, tears, grit, uh, taking something from out of your mind space to the space of your reality. So
Mhm.
your story is very important because if you
Very
don't
important.
tell it, somebody else will tell it, and then they'll say, "Oh, said had conscious mindset. I don't know, he sold it to somebody." So, when they start talking about BET and all these other things, all these brainchilds that you had, you understand? All of the brainchilds that you had, and then, somebody comes along and swoops it. That's like they said, one of the elders told me, they said, everybody is there, when they smell the bread until it's time to eat. Then everybody they got their hand out, but they weren't there baking the bread. So there's a process of taking something out of your mind and bringing it into your reality. And once it's in your reality, it's for public consumption.
Mhm.
So if they see you up, they want to be up with you. When they see you down, they move out of the way. They're like, oh, that's their problem. When
Yeah,
you up,
yeah, brother.
it's you're supposed to be a blessing and a benefit to everybody. And when you down, when Mike Tyson was in that cell, he said for 3 years, he said it was the best time of his life. Nobody was calling him. Nobody was calling him. There was none of everybody with the hand out. Nobody like the people, whoever came to see him, that's who came to see him. Other than that, nobody came to see him. Nobody cared about him. Muhammad Ali had to walk that path too. He had to walk that path. He told America, hey, because of my religious beliefs, and they crucified him for it. You see what I'm saying? So when you start looking at legacy, and if he didn't tell his story, if he didn't, I was told he has thousands of tapes of him talking. His grandchildren can hear his story from his mouth. They don't have to worry about what white America or anybody else has to say about it. They heard his words and his voice. And if you see later Ali's son, that look like Muhammad Ali. You see what I'm saying? So that spark of divine intelligence that continues to visit the planet. How many times are you going to see God before you recognize him or her?
Mm.
How many times are you going to look God in the face and not recognize him or her? So,
what helps you recognize the face of God? How are you able to discern that, dear brother, so that you can make a better choice with your time, with your mind, and with the things that you do to help us move forward so we're no longer behind?
the knowledge of God gives you the ability to build or destroy. Are you building with the knowledge that you have of God? Can God be seen in what you do? Or are you using that knowledge to destroy? There's a distinction. Are you going to build with that knowledge from God or destroy with it? But in order for you to build, something has to be destroyed. Something has to be uprooted. Something has to be altered. Something has to be changed. Why not it be the negative things about yourself and build on the positive? Why not it be those things that you abhor, those things that uh, have no relevance or no longer serving your greatest and highest good? Why not destroy those things and then build on them and build on those things? That's where God is. God is in where they say the devil is. They say the devil is in the detail. How can we exist in a society where the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said he loves the devil because the devil gives him nothing? Why would we love God now in 2024, brother said, for the same reason? They'll tell you they're waiting on God.
Yeah.
And God said, I sent the ships.
Mm.
You understand? God said, I sent the ships. So the signs and the symbols, but also in the people. If you don't see God in your babies, what are you here for? If you don't see God in your mother and father, how could you, like the scriptures say, how could you love a God you ain't never seen and not love your brother you see each and every day?
That's right. That's right.
See what I'm saying? So when you want to see the face of God, look in the mirror. You want to feel the help of God, hold your arm out. Your hand is at the end of it.
Mm.
So when our elders said, we don't got no friends, when Baba John Henry Clark said, you want a friend, look in the mirror, he said, you want a helping hand is at the end of your arm. We left him after him sacrificing his entire adult life to give us what we needed in order to be successful, to see through the lies and the disguise of mental colonialism, spiritual colonialism, and religious colonialism via these things that have been usurped and gave back to us.
That's deep. That's deep. There's so much to unpack right there. I want to ask this question. What do you want people to get out of volume one? We're going to talk about volume two, next time, and volume three, and so forth, and so forth on. But what do you want people to leave thinking, feeling, emoting, comprehending, ruminating upon from the reading and devouring of this book?
As a man or woman think up in their own mind, so is they. That's one of those things. They say in the Holy Quran when Allah makes a decision, simply says be and it is. Kun fayakun. So hopefully reading these words could inspire some young black children and their parents or their community to want to do something better. Each one of these persons that are listed in these writings are for those people. These are the people that people are drawn to. There's some of our heroes and sheroes in there, but it's basically off the proven success models that they have. So whether we're talking about tech or any of these aspects of entrepreneurialism, we're looking at it from our glorious past to our magnificent future.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Kwame Ture says, when we talk about Black Power, we talk about the building of Black institutions. Where are our children going to school and who are they being trained by? What are they being trained for? We saw Mike with his training montages. That's not the same guy that walked in the ring. So they'll show you a guy like a Sylvester Stallone, right? And he'll get in the ring with somebody like a Carl Weathers, rest in peace to him. And they'll show you this little guy, this little southpaw, whoop on this black man. And this black man teaches him how to fight. He didn't know how to fight before that. So the Chuck Hebner, Muhammad Ali space, right? We see that in the ring. So these are the stories. So if you don't tell your story, somebody's going to steal your story and tell it and omit you from it. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. They're going to move you out of the way of your story. They're going to get awards and accolades for telling your story, and you're going to think that you didn't have no story to tell. So tell your story. The world is in need of your story, your products, your services, your goals, your dreams, your aspirations. Someone lived in order for you to live. And they were subjected to death in order for you to live. So you owe an ancestral debt, a family debt in regards to what that future looks like for your next generation. They said if you don't come from a rich family, good, make sure a rich family comes from you.
Real. What are 5 things you think that people reading this book will glean, gain, or be stimulated to find out more information from Volume 1, Voices of the Diaspora?
Well, each person listed as part of could be a whole curriculum unto itself. So the pictorial images of the people out of there, these are motivations for our people to see themselves via yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So when they look in the mirror, they see innovators, they see disruptors. You see what I'm saying? They don't see N words and B words like the entertainment industry funnels to them that we are. So if you see yourself, you see what you're capable of, you see what you're able to do with your own mind, you become affirmed in who you are, and you don't seek validation from anyone outside of yourself. So prayerfully, one of the things is they see themselves as divine. They see themselves as capable. They see themselves based off of these things that they're contained in this short volume. It's only 19 pages for them to be able to say, oh, I need to identify what problem I'm looking to solve, where there's a need, and how I can solve it. Then I'm going to go do some research and be so thorough in that research. I understand all of the aspects of what I'm looking to create. Now, how am I going to create it? What resources that are there? And how do I need to distribute it? How many eyes does it need to be in front of before I convert those eyes into those who are vying for the product or service? So that industrialization of the mind that is so captivating and so attractive enough that God himself and God herself will look for what you have. They'll find you. You see what I'm saying? I saw a young man from the Caribbean. He was doing these push-ups with his older brothers. And he was like, no weakness. That dude ended up on Ellen DeGeneres' couch because of that video. So he's a young man out there, when you make enough buzz, people will find you. They'll find you and they'll find your product and service. So be able to articulate what it is you have, what your offering is. 80% is who you are, 20 other 20% is your product or service. So be able to articulate, to be able to present, be able to craft an idea, what they call in the entrepreneurial world, your elevator pitch, that 1 minute, 2 minutes, whatever it is, to get that across. Your mission statement, your vision statement, your brand promise, and all of these things are buzzwords to increase your brand position in the global marketplace. You can go anywhere in the world with your product or service, another thing. So the
So,
dream and the vision that you have is there, in this device that we be using to be so divisive. Let's use our devices with the intent of reaching people across the globe with our products, our services, and our offerings. The world is in need of your stories. The world is in need of who you are, where you come from, all of those things.
absolutely, man. You got my camera falling down, man. You saw saying so much heat, so much fire, man. It's coming out in right on time. We appreciate that. I want to ask you this question, brother. We got people from all around the country listening in and all around the world. Um, what do you see for Black people in their future? And why is it so important that people incorporate this work into their activity so that they have a brighter, better, wiser future?
To keep that light that's on, to keep the light that's in their eyes, the light that's in their smile, the light that they have that lights up the room in the universe of their minds. The more we learn about our opposition, the dimmer the light becomes.
Hmm.
The more we learn about ourselves, the brighter the light becomes. So we could pass that torch from one generation to the next, and they're affirmed, confirmed, God firmed, however we term it, to look for what they need from within and not from without. So continuing along that path to be that light in the dark places, that
Beautiful.
light in the dark places, and to be able to throw that rope back to help pull someone up.
It's beautiful.
In Drumline, it was something that Nick Cannon said. He's like, I ain't his mama. He said, so everybody who's not this guy's mama owes me 10 laps. You see what I'm saying? So that space of where you don't look at your brother as yourself or your sister as yourself. Islam, they say none of you will truly believe until you want for your brother what you want for yourself. What do you want for yourself? If you want nothing for yourself, you're gonna pass that to your brother and to your sister. But if you want that thing where God says, my words should never come back to me void, you'll move like that. You'll move like that. You'll be industrious as a beehive in the pursuit of what it is. The last thing I'll say is in that movie, The Pursuit of Happiness, when Chris Gardner Sr. was in that competitive space, he was the one that was selected out of all of those people. They had a backup plan. He didn't have one. And he moved like it. So when he walked out of the office, when they said, wear one tomorrow, and he's walking down the street, he got a chance to finally exist in this space that the people that he saw that was all happy. And he went to tell his son. He ran with all of his might and just grabbed his son and he hugged him because he knew his life was going to be different after that. So what you do with your legacy determines how not only you live, but the people who come from you are interdependent upon what you do, how they're going to live.
It's beautiful. Hey, you're so talented, brother. You're so talented. You're amazing. Um, I want to know how we can get the book and when will you come back on and talk about volume two?
Well, volume two is special. Okay, I wanted to set the foundation with volume one, and I'm thankful that you allowed me here. Volume two is dedicated to our most precious resource, God herself. which is our black woman. If we look out in the world, we see that everyone looks. How could Malcolm say the most unprotected and disrespected and despised woman on the planet is the black woman in the 60s and it still be true in 2024? How does that work? That's a failure on the part of the men who are responsible for them. And that's some shit that we have to be accountable for.
Mm.
So if the adage is true, if a nation can rise no higher than this woman, where are we going? Where are we going? Where are our future mothers, all of the daughters and the wives and the nieces and the aunties? Where are we going if they're not protected? If they're disrespected and despised? Where are we going?
Mm.
If that's true, if she's the first teacher, if she's the God that we know, why aren't we honoring her in that manner? Why are we allowing her to be subjected to the craziness of the world? Why don't we honor the wombs that give us birth? Why don't we honor the earth herself? The earth herself. The starting move have attracting powers on the planet, and it causes the earth to spin on its own axis. Why aren't we dealing with the place that we're habiting and where we're looking to inhabit in the future? So Bible 2 is dedicated to her specifically to re-crown her with the glory and honor that she's due.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm excited to talk about Volume 2 whenever you'll have me back. But the last thing I'll say about Volume 1 is you can get all of this, the books at my website, www.dudeknowledgeradio.com, and you click on the website, scroll down a little bit, and you'll see it. All of the volumes are $9. You can get the bundle for $36. I have 5 volumes, so 9 times 5 is 45. But you buy 4 books in the sense that you get the 5th one for free. And I promise that your investment will continue to aid me in the things that I'm looking to do for us in regards to our story being told righteously before the world. The last thing I say, brother said, is my goal, my audacious goal is to tell 1 million black stories righteously. Stories without cut, stories without men in dresses, stories without all these other crazy influences. You shouldn't have to kiss a man in order to present yourself to the public. You understand? Like these are the things that we've been subjected to. So now our young people are looking at that and seeing that as palatable. You could go from saving a young black man's life to kissing another. You understand? Like it's just crazy. That's not a way to, but display ourselves before the public. So to reverse the polarities, the more we know about ourselves, the greater the propensity is for us to continue to craft stories that speak to us from a holistic fashion and regard us in the righteous man.
Beautiful, beautiful. I have to ask this question, brother. Of all of the figures that you analyze in Volume 1, and I don't want to give away too much, that's why I don't want to ask about it, but I have to. Which one captivated you the most and made you say, man, this is it right here? This is the one. Or these are the individuals that percolate and stimulate my mind to say, yes, that's it right there. That's it. That's what we need to do.
When I saw, the pictures, and shout out to my brother D Banks, D Banks Designs, he did the illustration. Uh, he took my chicken scratch and brought it to life. When I saw Hajj Malik Al Shabazz, brother Wally, and Dr. Betty Shabazz, and their quotes, we need more light about each other. Light creates understanding. Understanding creates love. Love creates patience, and patience creates unity. What you think about yourself is more important than what others think of you. Those two particular figures, were transformative. After my mother and my father, these were prolific figures and still are prolific figures and reasons for motivation. Honest to those them both and their righteous family. So these are the two figures. To see them in the light of themselves and in the love of themselves, the love that they have for one another, the earth and the air, working together beneficently and mercifully, without regard to challenges and obstacles. They found a love in one another based on their stories. Both of them were in the foster care system. Both of them had two different trajectories. So the fire that came with Malcolm is because of what he learned in the foster care system and the love and care and the kindness and the miraculous nature of Dr. Betty Shabazz came from that same space. She was given to a mother who couldn't conceive her own children. So she said she was an angel, a gift from God, and she treated her as such. So she grew up with that thing in her mind to be that avenging and healing angel. She said when she saw Malcolm, she said she thought that she could be the one that could help him. He was around a whole bunch of people. Everybody was after him, but nobody was there for him. And she wanted to be that person. So she dedicated her life's work. She was able to recognize God, and so was he, and they saw God in one another. So when you look at those two stories in the most profound manner, and that was, sort of succinct in regards to their union, you see nothing but God bringing those two together for the world.
Wow. Man, nothing but God. It's nothing
Right.
but God, brother.
And when you create a story, or you create something for the public, it's subject to public scrutiny and for public consumption. So, the print books that I'm looking to put into rotation, they'll be more comprehensive in that regard. But I just wanted to see something done. It ain't not like seeing something done with your name on it, right?
Yeah,
And
right.
it's your best work. You understand what I'm
Right.
saying? I talked to my nephew, brother said one day, and I was like, you are sum total of your ancestral experience. You put your mother's name and your father's name on that paper. Are you submitting your best work? Are you submitting your best work? Are you being a proper ambassador to your bloodline?
And what did he say?
Proud of the work that you're doing. He said, I can do better.
Yes.
And he's doing better ever since.
And you know what's beautiful? We all can do better. We got to do better and support you. And thank you, dear brother, for being able and capable to tap in to that ancestral power and strength to do duty and a beautiful and wonderful and remarkable work that I know will work wonders on the minds, hearts, and spirits of all those who are so blessed and so fortunate to be able to partake in this wonderful endeavor. Please let people know how they can tap into what you're doing and learn more about your greatness.
I always appreciate an invitation to come over here where the conscious minds meet and they intersect. You've been doing this work, for a decade, going into, longer than that. I believe this is episode 1120. And what more fitting way to, commemorate such a milestone than to be discussing past, present, and future simultaneously. So
Yeah.
definitely always glad to be here. I ain't but a phone call, text, whatever it is away. And the maximization of effort tool to help the conscious minds continue to have motivation and inspiration to continue to be conscious, because consciousness doesn't come with friends. Consciousness doesn't come with rewards and parades. It comes with duration until the enemy's at the gate. Then they're like, man, I'm trying to figure out what's going on, what's happening, and this and that, and this and that. And they're talking about this and they're talking about that. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
What's your have an agenda? What's your agenda? So the purveyors of consciousness, the elders, the elder wisdom that you provide, the opportunities in every aspect of our pupil activity experience is unparalleled. So any opportunity I get to come here and to commemorate with you is always a blessing. It's always an honor. You get what I'm saying? Houston's fly is in the house. You understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So,
I appreciate
they
that, my
can go
brother.
to my website, DuNonsRadio.com, and I could check out DuNons Radio. DTK Multimedia Production Company is being built based off your support. You know what I'm saying? So if you would like to see us continue on this path, Voices of the Diaspora, the uh, web series, the docu series is being compiled, and I was ultimately surprised about some of the things that people had to say. So, a lot of snippets and things will be out there, some teasers. We'll have something in these Black film festivals, you know, uh, coming up next year. So the submissions and all of these things, if you want to share your story, you can email me at donounsradio@gmail. Again, the goal is 1 million Black stories told righteously. We are not going to butcher your story. This ain't Adam 22 or Vlad TV or any of these other
Oh,
succubus
yeah,
sorts of platforms that are here to destroy you. You see what I'm saying? We're here to love you, to honor you. So, honestly, platforms like Conscious Mindset, Urban X, Black Dot and his son Malcolm, Doggy Diamonds TV, the OG Wisdom Podcast with Brother Tad, and our good brother and family over there, Third Black Talk, Sister Keisha, and all of the family of the conglomerate that's continuing to build. I saw Danny Marie in here earlier. Her platform is phenomenal. So, sacred spaces where your stories and your thoughts, ideas, and opinions are not marginalized to celebrate. Something to be sacred. And if y'all wanted to check me out via Cash App, you could do so. Cash App $ knowledge one a lot. You know what I'm saying? Uh, and let's continue to work. Let's continue to build.
let's continue to work, my brother. So we're gonna bring you on next month, and I've yet to go on your platform, but if you have some time and space and place, I'd
Let's
definitely
go.
love to
You already
talk to
know. Let's
you
go.
and talk
Let's
to
go.
to the
You
kingdom.
said that, but you always show up when I'm celebrating something. You be like, "Hey, what's up, man? Hey, hey, come on."
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
You
sir.
always there
Yes,
to
sir.
commemorate.
Yes, sir. Well, I love you to life, my brother, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
All right.
Peace.
Peace to you, audience.
Peace to the family. That's the one and only man.